Before you were born, you existed as pure imagination. And when this body dies, you will return to that same state. But right now, you are imagination wearing flesh. You are God in disguise, pretending to be limited so you can experience the thrill of transformation. And sleep is the bridge between who you think you are and who you truly are. What if I told you that tonight, in the space between waking and sleeping, you could plant a single feeling so deeply that by morning your world begins to reflect it back? Not someday, not after you've earned it. Now, because creation doesn't wait for readiness, it waits for assumption. You clicked on this video because some part of you, perhaps buried, perhaps shouting, knows that the life you're living is not the life you're capable of living. You've tried affirmations, you've visualized, you've set intentions, made vision boards, repeated mantras until your voice went hoarse, and yet the same patterns return, the same lack, the same rejection, the same feeling of being trapped behind glass, watching others live the life you can only imagine. Here's the myth I'm going to dismantle tonight, that creation is hard work, that manifestation requires perfect technique, relentless positivity, or spiritual worthiness. The truth that will set you free is this: you are already creating every moment of every day, whether you know it or not. Your problem is not that you lack power. Your problem is that you are unconscious of the power you're already wielding. What I'm going to share with you is not motivation. It's not a pep talk. It's a revelation of law. The same law that governs the stars, the tides, and every breath you take. Imagination is not a tool you use. Imagination is what you are. And the moment before sleep is not downtime, it is the most creative moment you will ever have. Because in that threshold state, your conscious mind loosens its grip and your subconscious becomes impressionable. Most teachings tell you to let go and trust the universe. I'm telling you the opposite. Take dominion. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and refuse to accept any other state as real. Not because you're delusional, but because feeling is the secret. The universe doesn't respond to your words, your visualizations, or your desperation. It responds to the state you are in. And if you can enter the state of your wish fulfilled before sleep, you will wake in a world that reflects it. This is not about manifesting a car or a lover, though those may come. This is about remembering who you are. This is about realizing that every so-called external circumstance is your own consciousness pushed out. And when you see that, when you know that, you will never feel powerless again. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what to do tonight before sleep. You will know how to enter the feeling, how to sustain it, and why it works. And you will have proof, not because I give it to you, but because your own experience will reveal it. Let me begin by telling you something that will challenge everything you've been taught about reality. Most people walk through life believing they are separate from the world around them. They believe they are individuals moving through an objective reality, a reality that exists independently of them, that acts upon them, that they must adapt to and survive within. This is the greatest illusion. This is the lie that keeps you bound. The truth is this: there is no world outside of your consciousness. Everything you experience, every person, every circumstance, every so-called accident or coincidence, is your own consciousness pushed out into form. The world you see is not happening to you. It is happening from you. I know this sounds impossible. I know your rational mind is already pushing back, already providing evidence to the contrary. You're thinking, but I can see other people. I can see buildings, trees, the sky. How can all of that be my consciousness? Listen carefully. I'm not saying other people don't exist. I'm not saying the physical world is an illusion in the sense that it's not real. I'm saying that your experience of it, the version of reality you interact with, is entirely shaped by your consciousness. And because your consciousness is the only reality you can ever know, it is, for all practical purposes, the only reality that exists for you. Let me give you an example. Think of someone in your life right now, someone you love deeply. Now think of someone who frustrates you, someone who triggers anger or resentment. Both of these people exist in the same world, but your experience of them is completely different. Why? Because you have assigned different meanings, different assumptions, different feelings to each of them, and those assumptions shape how they show up in your world. The person you love reflects back love because you assume they are loving. The person who frustrates you reflects back frustration because you assume they are frustrating. Same world, different consciousness, different experience. Now here's where it gets profound. Those people aren't showing up a certain way in spite of your assumptions. They're showing up that way because of your assumptions. Your consciousness is literally pushing out onto them and creating the version of them you interact with. This is what I mean when I say everyone is you pushed out. You are not interacting with independent agents who have their own fixed personalities and behaviors. You are interacting with your own assumptions about them, clothed in human form. And if that's true, if everyone is you pushed out, then you can never be a victim. You can never be at the mercy of another person's choices, another person's opinions, another person's cruelty or kindness, because they are only reflecting back to you what you have assumed to be true. This is either the most terrifying truth you'll ever hear, or the most liberating. Terrifying because it means you are responsible for everything in your world. Every rejection, every disappointment, every closed door. Liberating because it means you have all the power. If you created the world you don't want, you can create the world you do want. Let me tell you about a woman who came to me years ago. She was carrying something heavy, not in her hands, but in her heart. For 20 years, she had been haunted by a single conversation. The night before her mother passed away, they had argued. She had been tired, worn down by the demands of caregiving, and she had spoken harshly. Words she couldn't take back. Words that became the last words her mother ever heard from her. Every day since, she replayed that conversation in her mind. She felt the sting of it, the regret, the shame, the unbearable weight of knowing she could never undo what had been done. Time, she believed, had locked that moment into place. It was fixed, permanent, a scar on her soul that would never heal. When she came to me, she wasn't looking for comfort. She had tried therapy. She had tried forgiveness exercises. She had tried telling herself it wasn't her fault. Nothing worked. The guilt remained. The memory remained. And she was convinced she would carry it to her grave. I looked at her and said something that made her go very still. I said, "Your past is not fixed. It only appears fixed because you keep returning to the same feeling of it." She stared at me. "But it happened," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "I can't undo it. I can't go back and change what I said." "You can't undo it," I agreed, "but you can revise it." She looked at me as if I had lost my mind, and I understood why. Everything in her conditioning told her that the past was the past. That memory was a recording, a fixed file stored somewhere in her brain, that what happened, happened, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. But I told her the truth. Memory is not a recording. It is an act of imagination. Every time you remember something, you are not accessing a fixed file. You are recreating that moment in the present. You are imagining it. And because imagination is the only reality, the way you imagine your past shapes your present and your future. If you remember yourself as rejected, you will continue to experience rejection. If you remember yourself as powerless, you will continue to feel powerless. Not because the past is controlling you, but because you are perpetually recreating the past with the same feeling, and that feeling becomes the lens through which you see everything. Revision is the conscious choice to reimagine an event, to replay it in your mind, but this time to feel it differently, to give it a new ending, a new emotional tone, a new meaning. I told her, every night before you sleep, I want you to replay that final conversation with your mother. But instead of hearing yourself speak harshly, imagine what you wish you had said. Imagine yourself speaking with tenderness. Imagine your mother's face softening. Imagine the warmth between you, Imagine that you told her you loved her, that you were sorry for being short, that you were grateful for her, and feel it. Feel the peace. Feel the resolution. Feel what it would be like if that had been the truth. She resisted. But that's lying, she said. That's not what happened. And I said, you've been lying to yourself for 20 years. You've been telling yourself that one moment of frustration defines you. You've been telling yourself that your mother died without knowing you loved her. You've been telling yourself a story of guilt and regret, and you've made that story so real that it has become your prison. Now, tell yourself a different story. Not because you're pretending, but because you're choosing which version of the past you will give power to. She didn't believe me, but she was desperate enough to try. Every night for 2 weeks, she practiced revision. She closed her eyes. She replayed that conversation. And instead of wincing at her own words, she imagined different words. She imagined her mother smiling. She imagined the two of them embracing. She imagined peace. And slowly, slowly, the feeling of guilt began to loosen its grip. Then something happened that she could not explain. Her sister called her out of nowhere. They hadn't spoken in months. And her sister said, I was going through Mom's old journals. I found something I think you need to see. The woman's heart stopped. She didn't know her mother had kept journals. Her sister read to her from an entry dated the day after their last conversation. In it, her mother had written about that night. She had written that she knew her daughter was exhausted, that she didn't take the harsh words to heart, that she understood, that she had forgiven her before she even closed her eyes. The woman wept, not just because her mother had written those words, though that was grace beyond measure. She wept because she realized what had happened. Her revision had reached back through time and rearranged the emotional reality of that moment. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but the journal entry already existed. It was always there. The revision didn't create it. And I will tell you this, you don't know that. You assume the journal entry was always there because that's how you understand time. But time is not what you think it is. Time is a construct of consciousness. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously in the eternal now. And when you revise an event in consciousness, you change its influence on the present. And sometimes, mysteriously, miraculously, the external world reflects that change in ways that defy logic but obey law. I don't know if the journal entry existed before the revision. What I know is that the woman never found it until after she revised her past. What I know is that her sister never felt compelled to call until after the revision. What I know is that the moment the woman changed her relationship to that memory, her entire world shifted to confirm the new feeling. That is the power of revision. Not to erase the past, but to change your relationship to it. And in changing your relationship to it, you change everything that flows from it. The past is not fixed. The past is alive. It lives in your consciousness. And every time you remember it, you give it new life. So the question is, what life are you giving it? Are you giving it the life of pain, of regret, of limitation? Or are you giving it the life of peace, of resolution, of freedom? You choose. Every night before sleep, you choose. So I ask you, what moment from your past are you still giving power to? What memory are you rehearsing with the same painful feeling over and over until it becomes the script of your life? Maybe it's a relationship that ended badly. Maybe it's a business failure. Maybe it's something someone said to you years ago that you've never been able to shake. Maybe it's a moment of humiliation, of rejection, of loss. Whatever it is, it's time to revise it. Tonight, before you sleep, you can revise it. You can reimagine it. You can feel it differently. And in doing so, you can free yourself from its grip. Because you are not bound by what happened. You are only bound by what you continue to assume happened. Now let me tell you about a man who felt invisible. He worked in an office, a good job, respectable. He showed up early every day. He stayed late. He did good work better than good. He was thorough, detail-oriented, reliable. He did everything right. He followed every rule. He exceeded every expectation. But no one seemed to notice. His boss barely acknowledged him. When he spoke in meetings, it was as if no one heard him. His colleagues talked over him, around him, past him. And when promotions came around, when opportunities arose, his name was never mentioned. It was as if he didn't exist. He came to me filled with frustration. His jaw was tight. His hands were clenched. He said, "I do everything right. I work harder than anyone else in that office. I show up. I deliver. I do what I'm supposed to do. But it's like I'm invisible. How do I get promoted when my boss doesn't even see me?" I looked at him for a long moment, and then I said, "Your boss is not your problem. Your invisibility is." He bristled. "What do you mean?" "I'm right there. I'm in every meeting. I'm doing the work. How am I invisible?" "Physically you're there," I said. "But inside you feel invisible. And that feeling is what you're perpetuating. That feeling is what you're broadcasting. And the world is simply reflecting it back to you." He wanted a strategy. He wanted tactics. He wanted to know what he should say, what he should do, how he should position himself, how he should make himself stand out. He wanted external solutions to what he believed was an external problem. But I gave him a state. I said, "Tonight, before you sleep, I don't want you to imagine the promotion. I don't want you to visualize your boss shaking your hand or picture yourself in a new office or see your name on a new business card. Those are future events. And the future is always just out of reach. Always something you're moving toward but never arriving at. The future is a trap. It keeps you in a state of waiting, of hoping, of not having. Instead," I continued, "imagine it's already done. Imagine lying in your bed after the promotion has happened. Don't imagine the moment of getting it. Imagine after. Imagine the day after. Imagine what that feels like. Feel the relief, the satisfaction, the quiet knowing that your value has been recognized. Don't try to see it. Don't make it a movie in your mind. Feel it. Let your body believe it. Let your breath slow down. Let the tension leave your shoulders. Feel what it would feel like if it were already true, if it were already done, if it were already yours, and fall asleep in that feeling." He looked skeptical. "But nothing's changed yet," he said. "I'm still in the same position. My boss still doesn't see me. How can I feel like I've been promoted when I haven't been?" And I said, "Everything has changed. You just haven't seen it yet. The moment you change your state, the moment you stop feeling invisible and start feeling seen, start feeling valued, start feeling recognized, the world has no choice but to reflect it back. Because consciousness is the only reality. And your outer world is simply consciousness pushed out." He didn't believe me. But he was willing to try. He practiced this for 3 nights. Every night before sleep, he imagined lying in his bed after the promotion. He didn't visualize the promotion itself. He didn't imagine his boss calling him into the office. He didn't imagine the conversation. He simply felt what it would feel like if it were done. Relief, satisfaction, peace, knowing. On the 4th day, something shifted. His boss called him into the office, not to promote him, not yet, but to ask his opinion on a new project, something that had never happened before. His boss actually wanted to know what he thought. His boss was listening, really listening. The man felt seen, and in being seen, he realized something profound. He no longer felt invisible. The feeling had shifted, the state had changed, and the world was beginning to reflect it back. 2 weeks later, the promotion came. Not because he had done anything different externally, not because he had suddenly started networking or speaking up more in meetings or making himself more visible, but because he had changed his state. He had stopped assuming he was invisible. He had started assuming he was valued. And the moment he made that shift in consciousness, the world had no choice but to rearrange itself to match. This is what most people miss. They think manifestation is about taking action, about doing the right things, about positioning themselves correctly in the external world. And yes, action matters. But action without the right state is exhausting and often fruitless. You can take all the right actions from the wrong state and get nowhere. But when you shift your state, when you occupy the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the right actions flow naturally, effortlessly, and they produce results that astonish you. Your outer world is a perfect mirror of your inner state. If you feel unworthy, the world will agree. If you feel rejected, the world will confirm it. If you feel invisible, the world will overlook you. But if you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, if you live from the end, the world has no choice but to conform. This is not magic, this is law. And law is impersonal. It doesn't ask if you deserve it. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't ask if you've worked hard enough, or suffered enough, or proven yourself worthy. It simply responds to what you are being. It responds to your state of consciousness. So if you're feeling overlooked, undervalued, invisible, stop trying to change the outer world. Stop trying to make people see you. Stop trying to prove your worth. Change your state. Assume the feeling of being seen. Assume the feeling of being valued. Assume the feeling of being recognized. And watch how quickly the world reflects it back to you. Now let me give you another image. This one will help you understand the nature of your work. Imagine a sculptor standing before a massive block of marble. It's rough, unformed, gray, and cold. To anyone else walking by, it's just a rock, a heavy, shapeless piece of stone. But the sculptor looks at it and sees something no one else can see. He sees a figure perfect, complete, fully alive. The figure doesn't exist yet in the marble, at least not to the untrained eye, but it exists in the sculptor's imagination, and that's all that matters. So he begins to work. He picks up his chisel and his hammer, and he begins to chip away, piece by piece, strike by strike. He doesn't add anything to the marble. He doesn't build the figure from the outside. He only removes. He takes away what doesn't belong. He's not creating the figure, he's revealing it. Because in his mind, the figure was always there, buried beneath layers of stone. His job is simply to uncover it. Day after day he works. Sometimes the progress is slow. Sometimes a single strike reveals a curve, a line, a feature that makes his heart leap. Other times he chips away for hours and sees barely any change. But he doesn't doubt. He doesn't stop. He doesn't look at the block and think, maybe the figure isn't really there. Maybe I'm deluding myself. Because he saw it first in imagination. And imagination is more real than the stone. Week after week, the figure emerges. First an outline, then details, then finally, unmistakably, a form that takes your breath away. And when it's done, when the last piece of unnecessary stone has been removed, everyone who sees it marvels. They say, "How did you create that?" And the sculptor smiles and says, "I didn't create it. It was always there. I only removed what was hiding it." You are both the sculptor and the marble. The true you, the you that is already whole, already fulfilled, already living your desired life, exists within you right now, not in the future, not as a potential, but as a reality in consciousness. But it's buried. Buried under layers of false assumption. Buried under old identities that you've worn for so long you think they're you. Buried under inherited beliefs. Beliefs you absorbed from your parents, your teachers, your culture, your past experiences. Buried under fears, doubts, the voices of everyone who ever told you who you were, or what you couldn't do, or what was possible for someone like you. Your work is not to become someone new. Your work is to remove what is not you, to chip away at the false, to let go of the old assumptions, to stop identifying with lack, with limitation, with the story of someone who struggles and waits and hopes and dreams but never quite arrives. And every night before sleep, you have the chisel in your hand. You have the opportunity to carve away another layer, to remove another false belief, to stop rehearsing the identity you want to shed and start inhabiting the identity you wish to claim. The sculptor doesn't beg the marble to change. He doesn't hope the figure will emerge someday if he's patient enough. He doesn't doubt that it's there. He assumes it's already there. And he acts accordingly. He doesn't second guess himself. He simply removes what doesn't belong, one piece at a time, until the figure stands revealed. That's what you must do. Assume the figure is already there. Assume your wish is already fulfilled. Assume the true you, the successful you, the loved you, the free you, the powerful you is already there, waiting to be revealed. And then, with every thought, every feeling, every moment of awareness, remove what contradicts that assumption. Stop identifying with the person who doesn't have what they want. Stop thinking from lack. Stop feeling from lack. Stop telling the story of limitation. Start thinking from the end. Start feeling from the end. Start telling the story of fulfillment. And watch as the figure, your true self, your fulfilled self, begins to emerge. The marble doesn't resist the sculptor, it yields. And in the same way, when you align your consciousness with your desired state, reality yields to you. Not because you're forcing it, but because that's the law. Consciousness is the substance. Reality is the shadow. Change the substance, and the shadow must follow. Now, let me give you the foundation, the bedrock, the principle upon which everything else rests. Because if you don't understand this, nothing else I say will make sense. And if you do understand this, if you truly grasp this, everything changes. Here it is. Consciousness is the only reality. I know this sounds radical. I know it sounds impossible. I know every fiber of your conditioning, every lesson you've learned since childhood, rebels against it. You look around and you see a solid world. You see buildings made of concrete and steel. You see other people with their own thoughts and feelings. You see circumstances that feel utterly independent of you, utterly outside of your control. And you think, how can consciousness be the only reality? There's a whole world out here that exists whether I'm aware of it or not. But I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to really think about it. Have you ever experienced anything outside of consciousness? Have you ever touched something, seen something, felt something, known something that wasn't filtered through your awareness? You haven't. You can't. Because everything you experience happens in consciousness. The world you see is not happening to you. It's happening in you. Think about it. Right now, you're aware of the sound of my voice. You're aware of the space around you. You're aware of the temperature, the light, the feeling of your body. You're aware of your own thoughts and feelings. All of that, all of it is taking place in consciousness. If you close your eyes, the world doesn't disappear, but your experience of it changes. And your experience is all you have. Your experience is your reality. You've never known anything outside of consciousness. You've never touched a thing in itself. You've only ever known your conscious experience of things. And that conscious experience is shaped entirely, completely, without exception by your assumptions, your beliefs, your state of being. Two people can walk down the same street and have completely different experiences. One sees beauty, opportunity, friendly faces. The other sees danger, scarcity, hostile strangers. Same street, same people, same buildings, different consciousness, different experience, different reality. You meet someone and immediately, unconsciously, you assign them a role. You decide if they're friendly or cold, trustworthy or suspicious, attractive or plain, important or insignificant. And once you've made that assumption, once you've assigned that meaning, that's the version of them you interact with. That's the version that shows up in your experience. And here's the profound part. They don't show up that way in spite of your assumption. They show up that way because of your assumption. Your consciousness literally creates the version of them you interact with. I once knew a man who was convinced everyone was out to take advantage of him. He believed people were selfish, manipulative, always looking for an angle. And you know what? In his experience, that's exactly what people were. Every business deal went sour. Every friendship ended in betrayal. Every relationship proved his belief right. But it wasn't because he was right about people. It was because his assumption about people created his experience of people. He was interacting with his own consciousness, pushed out onto others. Another man I knew assumed everyone was fundamentally good, fundamentally kind. He trusted easily. He gave people the benefit of the doubt. And in his experience, people rose to meet that assumption. They were kind to him. They helped him. They proved trustworthy. Same world, different consciousness, different experience. So when I say consciousness is the only reality, I'm not saying you're hallucinating. I'm not saying other people don't exist. I'm saying that the world you experience is a reflection of your consciousness. It's you, pushed out. Every person is you in disguise. Every circumstance is your assumption hardened into fact. And when you truly understand this, when you truly see that there is no one else, that everything in your world is you, you will never feel victimized again. You will never blame another person again. You will never feel powerless again, because you will see that the person who hurt you, the circumstance that disappointed you, the opportunity that passed you by, all of it was your own consciousness, showing you what you assumed to be true. This is not a burden. This is liberation. Because if consciousness is the only reality, then you are not at the mercy of the world. You are the creator of it. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the author of circumstance. Let me take this even deeper. The Bible, understood mystically, not literally, tells us this truth over and over. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But the word in the original text is not word as in spoken language. It's logos. And logos means creative reason, imagination, the shaping principle, the force that gives form to the formless. In the beginning was imagination, and imagination was with God, and imagination was God. Not imagination as in daydreaming or wishful thinking. Imagination as the creative power of consciousness, the power to conceive, to assume, to give reality to the unseen. And here's the revelation. You are that imagination, not a piece of it, not a spark of it, not a servant of it. You are it, fully, completely, localized in this body, in this moment, creating your world with every assumption you hold, whether you know it or not. Most people think imagination is frivolous, something children do, something artists do, something disconnected from real life. They think, I can imagine whatever I want, but that doesn't make it real. Reality is what I see with my eyes and touch with my hands. But that's backwards. Imagination is not separate from reality. Imagination is the only reality. Everything you see in the physical world was first imagined. The chair you're sitting on was first imagined by someone. The device you're holding was first imagined. The building you're in was first imagined. The language you're hearing was first imagined. All of it existed first in imagination, and only in imagination, until someone gave it the feeling of reality and then externalized it into physical form. Your life is no different. The relationship you desire, the home you want, the career you long for, the health you seek, the freedom you crave, the version of yourself you wish to be, all of it already exists. Not in the future, not as a potential, not as something you have to create from nothing. It exists right now in imagination. And imagination is the only place anything ever exists before it appears in the physical world. So the question is not, can I create what I want? You're already creating. Every moment of every day, you're creating your world with your imagination. The question is, am I creating consciously or unconsciously? Am I imagining what I want, or am I imagining what I don't want? Am I occupying the state of my wish fulfilled, or am I occupying the state of lack? Most people create unconsciously. They wake up in the morning and immediately begin to imagine all the things that could go wrong. They replay past failures. They rehearse future disasters. They imagine conversations where they're rejected, circumstances where they're humiliated, outcomes where they fail, and then they wonder why their life feels like a series of disappointments and setbacks. They don't realize they've been imagining those disappointments into existence. But you can create consciously. You can choose what you imagine. You can choose what you give the feeling of reality to. And the moment you do, you set into motion forces, invisible forces, powerful forces that will bring it into manifestation. Here's the paradox, and this is crucial. You don't create something new when you imagine your desire. You don't bring into existence something that didn't exist before. You select from infinite possibilities. Every version of your life, every possible outcome, every possible circumstance, every possible you already exists in the infinite field of consciousness. The wealthy you exists, the healthy you exists, the loved you exists, the free you exists, the fulfilled you exists. Right now, not in the future, not in some other dimension. Right now, in consciousness. They're not waiting to be born. They're waiting to be assumed. They're waiting for you to occupy their state, to think from their perspective, to feel from their feeling, to be them. And the moment you do, the moment you assume the state of your desired reality, you select that version of yourself from the infinite field. You bring it from the invisible into the visible, from the imaginal into the actual. This is what assumption is. Assumption is not hoping or wishing or wanting. Assumption is occupying a state in consciousness. When you assume something, you don't see it as separate from you. You don't see it as something you're trying to get. You live from it. You think from it. You feel from it. You are it. And here's the miracle. The moment you authentically assume a state, the bridge of incidents begins to form. The how, the when, the who, all of it arranges itself without your conscious effort. Doors open, people appear, opportunities arise, circumstances shift. Not because you've manipulated anything, not because you've forced anything, but because consciousness is the only reality, and reality must conform to consciousness. This is law. Not a theory, not a belief, not a philosophy. Law. The same law that governs the movement of the planets, the changing of the seasons, the beating of your heart. It works for everyone, always, without exception. It doesn't care if you believe in it. It doesn't care if you're worthy. It simply responds to your state of consciousness. So if imagination creates reality, and you are imagination, then what are you creating? What are you assuming right now? What state are you occupying in this very moment? Are you occupying the state of lack, of waiting, of hoping that someday, somehow, things will be different? Or are you occupying the state of fulfillment, of having, of knowing, not hoping, but knowing that it's already done? Because the state you occupy is the reality you create. Not tomorrow, not eventually, now, always now. And that brings me to the principle that changes everything. The principle that, once you grasp it, will transform your entire approach to creation. Feeling is the secret. I can give you 1,000 techniques. I can tell you to visualize, to affirm, to script, to create vision boards, to chant mantras, to perform rituals. But if you don't understand this one principle, none of it will work. None of it. Feeling is the secret. Not emotion, not excitement, not forced positivity. Feeling, and there's a crucial difference. Emotion is reactionary. It comes and goes based on circumstance. You get good news and you feel happy. You get bad news and you feel sad. You achieve something and you feel elated. You fail at something and you feel depressed. Emotion is at the mercy of the outer world. It rises and falls like waves on the ocean, constantly changing, never stable. But feeling, true feeling, is a state of being. It's an inner conviction. It's a sense that something is true, regardless of evidence. It's not dependent on what's happening around you. It's generated from within. It's stable. It's sustaining. It's the very substance of creation. When I say, Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I'm not asking you to manufacture excitement. I'm not asking you to jump up and down and pretend you're happy when you're not. I'm not asking you to put on a mask of positivity and force yourself to feel good. I'm asking you to inhabit the naturalness of having what you desire. The quiet knowing, the inner relief, the sense that it's done, the calm certainty, the peaceful awareness that your desire is no longer a desire, it's a fact. Think about something you already have, something so familiar, so natural, so much a part of your life that you don't even think about it. Maybe it's your name, maybe it's your ability to read, maybe it's your home, your car, your favorite chair. There's no strain in that, is there? No doubt, no effort. No need to convince yourself it's real. It simply is. You don't wake up every morning and affirm, I have a name, I have a name, I have a name. You don't check to make sure your home is still there. You don't doubt it. You just know. That's the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's the state you're aiming for. Not excitement, not elation, not forced emotion. Just quiet knowing, natural acceptance, the sense that it's done. Now contrast that with how most people approach desire. They beg, they plead, they hope, they pray. They visualize with desperate intensity. They check for signs every 5 minutes. They panic when nothing seems to be changing. They oscillate wildly between belief and doubt, hope and despair, confidence and fear. And in doing so, they perpetuate the very state they're trying to escape. Because the universe consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it, doesn't respond to your words. It doesn't respond to your visualizations. It doesn't respond to your desperation. It responds to your state. And if your state is one of wanting, needing, hoping, lacking, then that's what you'll continue to experience. Want, need, hope, lack. Always in the future. Always just out of reach. Never now. But if you can shift into the state of having, if you can feel it as done, as natural, as already yours, then the outer world has no choice but to conform. Because consciousness is the only reality, and your outer world is simply consciousness pushed out into form. This is why techniques alone don't work. You can visualize for hours. You can affirm until your voice is hoarse. You can create elaborate vision boards and rituals. But if you're doing all of that from a state of lack, from a state of I don't have this yet and I'm trying to get it, then all you're doing is reinforcing the lack. You're telling your subconscious, I don't have it. I need it. I'm separate from it. And your subconscious, being impersonal and literal, accepts that as your instruction and creates more of the same. But if you can shift your state, if you can enter the feeling of already having it, then even the simplest technique becomes powerful. Even a single thought, held with the right feeling, can move mountains. This is why I say, before you sleep, enter the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Not the feeling of wanting your wish fulfilled, the feeling of it being fulfilled, the feeling of relief, the satisfaction, the peace, the naturalness, the knowing that it's done, and let that feeling carry you into sleep. Why sleep? Why is this moment so powerful? Why do I place such emphasis on the state you enter as you drift off? Because sleep is the most creative state you will ever experience. In sleep, your conscious mind, the part of you that doubts, that analyzes, that clings to the evidence of the senses, that argues for your limitations, surrenders. It releases its grip. It steps aside. And your subconscious mind, which is infinitely powerful and completely impersonal, becomes impressionable. Your subconscious doesn't reason. It doesn't judge. It doesn't debate. It doesn't ask if you deserve what you're impressing upon it. It simply accepts. Whatever you give it with feeling, it accepts as fact. And once it accepts an impression, it must externalize it. It must build your world to match the feeling you've given it. Think of your subconscious as a fertile garden. It doesn't judge the seeds you plant. It doesn't say, this is a good seed, this is a bad seed, this seed is worthy, this seed is not. It simply receives whatever you plant and grows it. Plant seeds of lack and it grows lack. Plant seeds of fear and it grows fear. Plant seeds of fulfillment and it grows fulfillment. And the moment before sleep is when the soil is most receptive, when your conscious mind releases its guard, when you can plant seeds most deeply. So the state you fall asleep in is the state you impress upon your subconscious. And your subconscious, being the builder of your world, will create circumstances, attract people, arrange events, open doors, close doors, whatever is necessary to match that state. Fall asleep feeling poor, and you'll wake to a world that confirms poverty. Not because the world is punishing you, but because your subconscious accepted poverty as your instruction and built accordingly. Fall asleep feeling rejected, and you'll wake to a world that confirms rejection. Not because people don't like you, but because your subconscious accepted rejection as your reality and created experiences to match. Fall asleep feeling sick, and you'll wake to a body that confirms sickness. Not because you're inherently unwell, but because your subconscious accepted sickness as your state and maintained it. But fall asleep feeling fulfilled, feeling loved, feeling abundant, feeling recognized, feeling healthy, feeling free, and you'll wake to a world that confirms fulfillment. Not immediately, perhaps, not all at once, but inevitably, certainly, because law doesn't fail. This is not magic. This is not wishful thinking. This is law, impersonal, immutable law. And law doesn't bend. Law doesn't make exceptions. Law simply is. So the only question that matters is this: what are you feeling as you fall asleep? What state are you impressing upon your subconscious night after night after night? If you're like most people, you're falling asleep in worry, in doubt, in replaying the problems of the day, in rehearsing tomorrow's anxieties, in imagining all the ways things could go wrong, in feeling the weight of your current circumstances, in accepting your limitations as permanent. And then you wonder why tomorrow looks so much like today, why next month looks so much like last month, why next year looks so much like last year. You wonder why nothing changes, why your life feels stuck, why your circumstances feel fixed. But they're not fixed. They're simply repeating. Repeating because you're impressing the same state every night. You're planting the same seeds. You're giving the same instructions to your subconscious. And your subconscious, being loyal and literal, is simply obeying. But tonight you can change that. Tonight, you can consciously choose the state you fall asleep in. Tonight, you can plant a new seed. Tonight, you can give a new instruction. And in doing so, you can change everything. Not eventually, not someday, now. Because creation doesn't happen in the future. Creation happens now, always now. And the now that matters most, the now where you have the most creative power, is the now just before you sleep. Now let me talk about living in the end, because this is where most people misunderstand the entire process. Living in the end means thinking from your desire, not of it. Let me say that again, because it's crucial. Thinking from your desire, not of it. Most people spend their entire lives thinking of what they want. They see it in the distance. They see it as something separate from themselves. They see it as something out there, something they're moving toward, something they hope to achieve or acquire or become someday. They imagine getting it. They imagine the process of attaining it. They imagine the moment of receiving it. They imagine the future state when they finally have it. And in doing so, they keep it perpetually in the future, perpetually out of reach, perpetually separate from themselves. This is thinking of your desire. And thinking of your desire keeps you in a state of not having it. But when you live in the end, you collapse the distance. You don't imagine getting the thing. You don't imagine the journey toward it. You don't imagine the future moment when it arrives. You imagine already having it. You imagine being it. You experience yourself in the present moment as the person who has it. This is thinking from your desire, thinking from the end, living in the wish fulfilled. And this is not pretending. This is not fake it till you make it. This is not lying to yourself or denying your current circumstances. This is a shift in identity, a shift in state, because the moment you assume the state of your wish fulfilled, you become the person who has it. And the person who has it thinks differently, feels differently, moves differently, speaks differently, makes different choices than the person who wants it. Let me give you an example to make this concrete. If you desire wealth, let's say you desire financial freedom, abundance, the ease that comes from never worrying about money, most people approach it by thinking of wealth. They imagine their bank account. They see a large number. They imagine receiving money. They imagine the moment they become wealthy. They imagine their future self, financially free, living the life they dream of. And every time they do this, they're affirming to themselves, I don't have it yet. I'm separate from it. It's out there in the future. I'm here in lack, hoping to get there someday. That's thinking of wealth. And thinking of wealth keeps you in poverty. But thinking from wealth is completely different. Thinking from wealth means imagining how you would feel if wealth was so natural to you that you didn't even think about it. If financial freedom was so much a part of your identity that it wasn't something you hoped for, it was simply who you are. Imagine the ease, the calm, the lack of concern. Imagine walking past something you want and buying it without a second thought. Imagine receiving a bill and paying it without anxiety. Imagine a friend mentioning a financial worry and realizing, with gentle compassion, that you no longer relate to that feeling. Imagine the quiet inner knowing that you're taken care of, that you're abundant, that money flows to you easily, naturally, constantly. That's thinking from wealth. That's living in the end. That's occupying the state of the wish fulfilled. And here's what happens when you truly occupy that state. Your actions change. Not because you force them to, but because you're being someone different. You're being the wealthy person. And the wealthy person makes different choices. You stop hoarding. You stop operating from scarcity. You stop penny pinching out of fear. You start being generous. You start making decisions from abundance. You start moving with ease and confidence. And the world, which is always reflecting your state, begins to match your new assumption. Opportunities appear. Money comes from unexpected sources. Doors open that were previously closed. Not because you manipulated anything, but because you changed your state, and reality conforms to consciousness. This is the secret. Not visualizing what you want, but being who you would be if you already had it. So the question is not, how do I get what I want? The question is, who would I be if I already had it? And then, can I be that person now? Not when circumstances change. Not when you see evidence. Now. Before the evidence. That's what faith is. Occupying the state before you see it reflected back. And I promise you this. Occupy the state authentically, and the reflection must come. Because consciousness is the only reality, and reality must conform to consciousness. That's law. Now, let me take you even deeper into revision, because revision is one of the most powerful tools you have, and yet it's one of the most misunderstood and underutilized. I told you earlier about the woman who revised her conversation with her mother, but let me expand on this. Let me help you understand why revision works, and how you can use it to free yourself from the chains of your past. Most people believe the past is fixed. They believe that what happened, happened, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. The past is over, done, unchangeable, locked in time. And they carry that past with them like a heavy stone, letting it shape their present and limit their future. But here's what you must understand. The past is not fixed. The past is alive. It lives in your consciousness, and every time you remember it, you recreate it. You give it new life. You reimagine it in the present moment. Memory is not a photograph. It's not a video recording stored somewhere in your brain, unchangeable and objective. Memory is a living act of imagination. Every time you remember something, you are imagining it. You are reconstructing it from fragments, filling in details, assigning meaning, attaching feeling. And because imagination is the only reality, because imagination creates your experience of the world, the way you imagine your past continues to shape your present and your future. If you remember yourself as rejected, you will continue to experience rejection, not because rejection is your destiny, but because you are perpetually recreating the feeling of rejection every time you revisit that memory. You're telling yourself, this is who I am. This is what happens to me. This is my story. And your subconscious, being literal and obedient, accepts that as your instruction and creates more experiences to match. If you remember yourself as humiliated, you will continue to feel humiliated. If you remember yourself as powerless, you will continue to be powerless. If you remember yourself as unloved, you will continue to feel unloved, not because the past is controlling you, but because you are recreating the past every time you revisit it with the same feeling. The past doesn't exist anywhere except in your consciousness right now. It's not back there in time. It's here, in this present moment, alive in your imagination, and you have the power to reimagine it. That's what revision is. Revision is the conscious choice to reimagine an event, to replay it in your mind, but this time to give it a different outcome, a different feeling, a different meaning. This is not about denying what happened. It's not about pretending it didn't happen. It's not about spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity. It's about recognizing that the event itself is neutral. What gives it power is the meaning you assign to it and the feeling you attach to it. And meaning and feeling can be changed. Let me give you another example. Let's say you had a conversation with someone, maybe a boss, maybe a parent, maybe a romantic partner, and it went badly. Maybe they criticized you. Maybe they rejected you. Maybe they said something that hurt deeply. And ever since you've replayed that conversation in your mind, you've felt the sting of it. You've rehearsed your humiliation, your anger, your hurt. Every time you do that, you're giving that event power. You're keeping it alive. You're telling your subconscious, this is true about me. This is how people see me. This is what I deserve. But you can revise it. Tonight before you sleep, replay that conversation. But this time change it. Imagine yourself responding with grace, with confidence, with power. Imagine the other person's face softening. Imagine them apologizing. Imagine them recognizing your worth. Imagine the conversation ending with resolution, with respect, with peace. And don't just see it. Feel it. Let your body relax into the new version. Let the old feeling of humiliation dissolve. Let a new feeling of dignity, of respect, of power take its place. Do this not once, but every night until the old feeling has no grip on you anymore. Until you can think of that person or that event and feel nothing but peace. And here's what will happen, and I've seen this countless times. When you revise an event and truly feel it differently, the external world often reflects that change. Not always in obvious ways, not always immediately, but mysteriously, profoundly, undeniably. Sometimes the person will reach out to you out of nowhere. Sometimes they'll apologize without you saying a word. Sometimes a new opportunity will appear that wouldn't have been possible if the event hadn't happened. Sometimes you'll simply find that the event no longer has power over you, and that freedom transforms everything. I don't pretend to fully understand how this works. I only know that it does. I've seen it too many times to doubt it. And I know this. Time is not what you think it is. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously in the eternal now of consciousness. And when you change your consciousness, when you revise your past in feeling, you change its influence on your present. And sometimes, mysteriously, the external world rearranges itself to reflect that change. So tonight, I want you to practice revision, not just as an exercise, but as a daily practice. Every night before sleep, review your day. Did anything happen that left you feeling diminished, rejected, powerless, frustrated, revise it. Reimagine it ending the way you wish it had ended. Feel it differently. Don't give power to states you don't want to perpetuate. Because every time you replay an event with the same negative feeling, you're rehearsing that state. You're deepening its groove in your consciousness. You're making it more likely to repeat tomorrow. But when you revise, when you reimagine the event with a new feeling, you weaken the old pattern and create a new one. Revise your day, then impress your wish fulfilled. Clear the debris, then build the new. This is your practice. This is your power. This is how you free yourself from the prison of the past and step into the freedom of the present. Now let me give you the practical steps. Because knowledge without application is useless. You can understand every principle I've shared. You can be inspired by every story. But if you don't apply it, if you don't actually do it, nothing will change. So here is what I want you to do tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. First, identify your wish fulfilled. What is the one thing that, if it were true, would change everything for you? Not 10 things. Not a list. One thing, the most important. The thing that carries the most feeling, the most desire, the most longing, the most significance. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's financial freedom. Maybe it's recognition in your career. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's inner peace. Maybe it's a home. Maybe it's creative expression. Maybe it's simply the feeling of being loved, of being seen, of being valued. Whatever it is, identify it clearly. Name it. Know it. Second, reduce it to a single scene. This is crucial. Don't imagine the whole story. Don't imagine the journey. Don't imagine all the steps between here and there. Imagine one simple scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled. The scene should be short, simple, sensory. And it should be after the wish is fulfilled, not during the process of getting it. If you desire a relationship, don't imagine meeting someone. Don't imagine dates. Don't imagine falling in love. Imagine lying in bed, feeling the warmth of your partner beside you. Imagine the quiet intimacy of that simple moment. Imagine reaching out and feeling their hand. Imagine the naturalness, the peace, the knowing that you're no longer alone. If you desire financial freedom, don't imagine working hard or making money or receiving a windfall. Imagine casually paying for something expensive without checking the price. Imagine the ease in your body. Imagine the lack of concern. Imagine the quiet, knowing that you're abundant, that money is no longer an issue. If you desire recognition, don't imagine the moment you get promoted or applauded. Imagine afterward. Imagine a friend calling to congratulate you. Imagine the simple exchange. I heard the news. Congratulations. Imagine your calm, satisfied response. Imagine the feeling of your value being recognized. Keep it simple. Keep it short. Keep it sensory. Keep it after. Third, enter the feeling. This is where most people fail. They visualize the scene, but they don't feel it. Or they try to force a feeling that isn't authentic. Close your eyes, get comfortable, relax your body, take a few deep breaths. Now replay the scene in your mind. But more than seeing it, more than making it a movie in your head, feel it. Feel what it would be like if this were true. Feel the relief, the satisfaction, the peace, the naturalness, the knowing. Don't strain, don't force, don't try to manufacture excitement or happiness. Just gently, easily, naturally assume the feeling of it being true. If doubt arises, and it will, don't fight it. Don't argue with it. Just return to the scene. Return to the feeling. If your mind wanders, and it will gently bring it back. The goal is not perfection. The goal is saturation. You're trying to steep yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Fourth, loop the scene until you fall asleep. This is the key. You're not just practicing this for 5 minutes and then going about your night. You're replaying this scene, feeling this feeling over and over until sleep takes you. Because the state you fall asleep in is the state you impress upon your subconscious. and your subconscious, once impressed, will build your world to match. So replay it, feel it, replay it again, feel it again. Let yourself drift. Let yourself relax. Let the scene carry you gently into sleep. If you fall asleep in the middle of imagining it, perfect. That's exactly what you want. You want to drift off while you're in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's it. That's the entire method. No complicated rituals, no hours of meditation, no perfect conditions, no special tools, just a single scene, looped with feeling until sleep takes you. And then, and this is absolutely crucial, let it go. The next morning, don't check for signs. Don't obsess over how it will happen. Don't look for evidence. Don't panic if nothing seems to have changed. Trust that the subconscious, once impressed, will create the bridge of incidents that brings your desire into manifestation. Trust that the law is working, even when you can't see it. Trust that consciousness is rearranging reality to match your new assumption. Your job is not to figure out the how. Your job is not to force it to happen. Your job is simply to assume the state, to impress the feeling, to fall asleep in the wish fulfilled. The how will take care of itself. The universe, your own wonderful subconscious, will orchestrate the details. People will appear. Opportunities will arise. Circumstances will shift. Doors will open. And it will all feel natural, even inevitable, when it happens. That's the power of assumption. That's the power of falling asleep in the state of the wish fulfilled. Now, in addition to the pre-sleep ritual, I want you to practice something throughout the day. I want you to become aware of your state, because creation doesn't only happen at night. You are creating all day long, with every thought, every assumption, every feeling, every inner conversation. So throughout the day, catch yourself. Notice what state you're in. Are you in the state of worry, of lack, of waiting, of frustration, of fear, of doubt? Or are you in the state of your wish fulfilled? Are you thinking from the end? Are you being the person who already has what you desire? When you catch yourself in a negative state, and you will, many times throughout the day, don't judge it. Don't beat yourself up. Don't feel like you failed. Simply shift. Ask yourself, what would I be feeling if my desire were already fulfilled? What would I be thinking? How would I be moving through the world? And then assume that feeling, assume that thought, assume that state, even if just for a moment. This is not about maintaining a perfect state 24 hours a day. That's exhausting, that's unrealistic, that's unnecessary. This is about conscious course correction, about catching yourself when you've drifted into an unwanted state and gently redirecting yourself back to the desired state. Because your dominant state, the state you return to most often, the state you occupy most consistently, is what manifests. So make your desired state your home, not your goal, not your hope. Your home, the place you return to again and again. And one more practice that's essential. Spend a few minutes before sleep revising your day. Did you have a conversation that went poorly? Revise it. Did you feel anxious? Revise the situation that triggered the anxiety, imagining it unfolding peacefully. Did you feel rejected or overlooked? Revise the event, imagining yourself being seen, valued, respected. Did something happen that made you feel small or powerless? Revise it, imagining yourself responding with confidence and grace. Don't give power to states you don't want to perpetuate. Because every time you replay an event with the same negative feeling, you're rehearsing that state. You're deepening its groove. You're telling your subconscious, this is who I am. This is what happens to me. But when you revise, when you reimagine the event with a new feeling, you weaken the old pattern and create a new one. So every night, revise your day first. Clear the debris, dissolve the negative impressions, and then impress your wish fulfilled. Plant the new seed, clear the old, plant the new. That's your practice. And if you struggle to feel the wish fulfilled, if doubt is too strong, If the feeling seems impossible, if you can't connect with it, try this. Stand in front of a mirror. Look directly into your own eyes and say with conviction, with feeling, with absolute certainty, I am. Not I will be, not I hope to be, not I'm trying to be, I am. If you desire confidence, say I am confident. If you desire love, say I am loved. If you desire wealth, say I am abundant. If you desire health, say I am healthy. If you desire success, say I am successful. Feel the weight of those words. Let them resonate in your body. Because I am is not just a phrase. I am is the name of God. I am is the creative power within you. I am is consciousness announcing itself. When you say I am, you are not affirming something you hope will be true someday. You are claiming it as true now. You are declaring your state. You are speaking from the end. And the universe, your own subconscious, your own consciousness, has no choice but to conform to your declaration. Do this until you feel it. Until the words aren't just words anymore. Until they become a recognition of truth. Until you know, with every fiber of your being, that what you've claimed is already so. So let me bring this home now. Let me gather everything I've shared and give it to you as a final gift. You are not here by accident. You didn't stumble upon these words by chance. You didn't click on this video randomly. Some part of you, the deepest part, the part that knows, the part that remembers who you truly are, called you here because you are ready. Ready to stop waiting, ready to stop hoping, ready to stop giving your power away to circumstance, to other people, to the economy, to your past, to your fears. Ready to remember that you are the operant power, that you are the creator, that consciousness is the only reality, and you are consciousness, fully and completely. Tonight before you sleep, you have a choice. You can fall asleep in the same state you've been in for weeks, months, maybe years. You can fall asleep worrying about tomorrow. You can fall asleep rehearsing your problems. You can fall asleep feeling the weight of lack and limitation and impossibility. And if you do, tomorrow will look like today, because you'll have impressed the same state upon your subconscious, and your subconscious will build the same world. Or you can fall asleep in the state of your wish fulfilled. You can feel it as done. You can know it as true. You can occupy the state of fulfillment, of relief, of satisfaction, of peace. And if you do, if you truly, authentically, deeply impress that state upon your subconscious, the universe will prove it to you. Not because it's magic, not because you got lucky, not because you earned it or deserved it or became worthy enough, but because it's law, immutable, impersonal, absolute law. Consciousness is the only reality. Imagination creates reality. Feeling is the secret. And you are the creator. You are not broken. You are not lacking. You are not powerless. You are not unworthy. You've just been creating unconsciously. You've been falling asleep in states you don't want. You've been assuming identities that don't serve you. You've been giving power to the past, to other people, to circumstances that were only ever reflections of your own consciousness. But now you know, now you see, now you understand. And tonight, you prove it. Tonight, you take your power back. Tonight, you stop waiting for permission. Tonight, you stop waiting for the right time. Tonight, you stop waiting for proof. Tonight, you assume the state. You feel the wish fulfilled. You live from the end, and you let reality catch up. Because it will. It has no choice. The outer world is a shadow. Consciousness is the substance. And when you change the substance, the shadow must follow. That's law. So let me give you an affirmation. Not something to repeat mindlessly, but something to claim, something to know, something to be. Say this to yourself and feel the truth of it. I am the creator of my reality. I assume the feeling of my wish fulfilled, and I let the universe prove it. Say it again, feel it. I am the creator of my reality. I assume the feeling of my wish fulfilled, and I let the universe prove it, not as a wish, not as a hope, as a declaration, as a recognition of what is already true, as a claiming of your power. I am the creator of my reality. I assume the feeling of my wish fulfilled, and I let the universe prove it. Let that settle into your bones. Let it become the foundation from which you move. Let it be the truth you return to again and again. And if this resonated with you, if something shifted inside as you've been listening, I want you to do something for me. I want you to tell me in the comments what you're assuming tonight. What state are you choosing to fall asleep in? What wish are you claiming as fulfilled? What identity are you occupying? Because your testimony might be the very thing someone else needs to hear. Your declaration might give someone else permission to claim their own power. You are not alone in this. We are all consciousness, creating together, reflecting each other, proving the law to one another. So share your assumption, share your state. And when your proof comes, and it will come, share that too. Not to boast, but to encourage, to inspire, to show others that this law is real, that it works, that they too can create consciously. Like this video, if it served you. If something in you recognized the truth of what I've shared, let me know. Subscribe if you want to continue this journey. If you want more truth, more depth, more reminders of who you are and what you're capable of. But more than any like or subscribe or comment, more than anything, I want you to do this. Tonight, before you sleep, enter the state. Feel the wish fulfilled. Let your body believe it. Let your subconscious accept it. And fall asleep knowing, not hoping, but knowing that it's done. Not hoping, knowing, not wishing, being, not becoming. Already, you don't need permission to create. You only need assumption. An assumption is not something you do, it's something you are. So be it. Be the state. Be the wish fulfilled. Be the creator you've always been but forgot you were. And tomorrow you'll wake in a world that's already beginning to reflect it back to you. Maybe in small ways at first. A shift in feeling, a synchronicity, a person reaching out, an opportunity appearing, a door opening. Don't dismiss these signs as coincidence. They're not coincidence. They're confirmation. They're the universe saying, I heard you, I'm responding, I'm rearranging. Keep assuming, keep being, keep living from the end. And as you continue, as you make this a practice, as you fall asleep in the state of your wish fulfilled, night after night after night, the signs will get stronger, the changes will get bigger, the evidence will become undeniable. And one day, maybe soon, maybe sooner than you think, you look around and realize, I created this. Not by forcing, not by struggling, not by manipulating, but by assuming, by occupying the state, by living from the end, by falling asleep in the wish fulfilled. And you'll never doubt your power again, because you'll have proven it to yourself, and that's the only proof that matters. So go now. Tonight is not just another night. Tonight is the night you take dominion. Tonight is the night you stop creating by default and start creating by design. Tonight is the night you prove to yourself that you are the operant power in your world. Enter the state. Feel the wish fulfilled. Loop it. Saturate yourself in it. And let sleep carry you while you're immersed in that feeling. And trust. Trust the law. Trust your subconscious. Trust consciousness itself to rearrange your world to match your new assumption. You are not waiting for your life to change. Your life is waiting for you to change. And change begins in consciousness. It begins in assumption. It begins tonight in that sacred space between waking and sleeping, where you are most impressionable, most powerful, most divine. Create consciously. Assume boldly. Live from the end, and watch, just watch, as the world proves you right. I am, you are. And in that recognition, all things become possible. Now go, assume, be, create, and know that you are